remake Pokemon games tend to be some of the most loved in the entire franchise since they largely improve upon the game they are already based off of. We first saw this with Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, where they modernized Pokemon Red and Blue and fixed a lot of the issues that game had, then with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which improved upon Gold and Silver, adding a lot of nice quality of life features which made the game arguably the best Pokemon games in the entire franchise. With Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, it was more of a reimagination of the Hoenn region with more changes from the base version compared to previous remake games, but they were still considered very good Pokemon games. Then we have Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, my personal favorite paired Pokemon games and the games that are next in line for a remake on the Nintendo Switch. Today I want to talk about my wish list for what I would like to see in a potential Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remake for the Nintendo Switch. This video is not about any leaks, rumors, or anything like that, just simply a wish list of what I would like to see in this game. I did make a video like this about 2 years ago, way before Sword and Shield were ever officially revealed and before Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee even came out, but now that we actually have main series games on the Switch and more of an idea of what Pokemon can be like on the Switch, this one will be different. First, I want to see the Pokédex return. The Pokédex was a nice little feature to help keep track of things on your DS's touchscreen, like the Pokemon you had at the daycare or even to count your steps amongst many other things. Since the Nintendo Switch only has a single screen unlike the DS's 2 screens, that means the Pokédex will have to change a lot to be compatible with the Switch, and it can't be up all the time like it was in the original Diamond and Pearl games. While one simple solution would be to have an option in your menu to check your Pokédex, I think it would be cool if there was a way to connect your game to your phone and have your phone act as the Pokédex. This would mean that you can always have it up without interrupting gameplay on your Switch's screen or your TV screen, and could possibly be done through the Switch Online app, which does similar things with games like Animal Crossing and Splatoon 2. The Pokédex is also a watch, not a phone, so they might have to retrain it in the remake to be a phone to make it make more sense. So maybe they could still have an option in the menu for you to access the Pokédex as well if you don't have a cell phone, or just don't want to use your phone for it. They could also potentially link a way to use Pokemon Home with a phone-based Pokédex app, and allow you to even access your Pokédex while you're away from your Switch. Next, I want to see some sort of expansion upon Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. When Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire came out, it changed a number of things from the original Ruby and Sapphire games, with one of the most prominent changes being the introduction of Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre. They worked similarly to Mega Pokemon at the time, and of course were not in the original Ruby and Sapphire games. Since we are now in Generation 8 and Megas don't currently exist in Generation 8, I would like to see some sort of Gigantamax-like form like Dialga and Palkia, or maybe some sort of Primal-like form that is similar to Gigantamax. There is even a different Dialga form in one of the Mystery Dungeon games they could base it off of, and it would be a very welcome change from the original Diamond and Pearl story. One issue with this is Giratina already has a separate form in the Giratina Origin form, so I don't know if they would just use that form to go along with the new Dialga and Palkia forms, or make new ones. But this can be a good way to tie in Gigantamaxes into the new remake Diamond and Pearl games, much like how Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire tied in Megas from X and Y, which weren't in the original Ruby and Sapphire. And on the topic of Megas, I would still like to see them return in a potential Diamond and Pearl remake. While it might not be likely since Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing basically replaced Mega Evolution, I still think it could possibly work. They could potentially handle it similar to how they did in Sun and Moon, where in Sun and Moon the new cool battle mechanic was the Z moves and Megas weren't really seen until the post game and were pretty brushed to the side. They could do the same thing and have the story focus on Megas and then leave Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing until the post game, or maybe do the opposite and bring back Megas but not feature them in the story until the very end or the post game. If this happens, then it would also probably mean there would be no new Mega forms, but while they're at it, they could also just add back Z Crystals in the post game as well, since a lot of people did like them even though I personally wasn't the biggest fan. While this would make competitive metas even more chaotic than they already are with all of these mechanics at the same time, they could also just adjust the rule sets to make it more balanced and potentially ban Z moves or ban Megas if they both return. Another thing that would shake up competitive battling would be the addition of new Pokemon that were not featured in Sword and Shield. While we already see this happening a little bit with the Sword and Shield free updates adding compatibility for some older Pokemon, a whole new game would most likely add more Pokemon back than a DLC pack or random update. It could be a good chance to add back every single Pokemon since a lot of Generation 4 Pokemon are still missing from Generation 8, and it could serve as a way to catch some older Pokemon that weren't in Sword and Shield without having to transfer them over from older Pokemon games with Pokemon Bank. The lack of older Pokemon was one of the biggest complaints, if not the biggest complaint about Pokemon Sword and Shield, and a new main series Pokemon game on the Switch could fix that by adding them all back. One thing that has made Heart Gold and Soul Silver such a great remake game and a great Pokemon game in general was the ability for Pokemon to follow you around. While I personally don't really care too much about Pokemon being able to follow you or not, it's still something a lot of Pokemon fans out there enjoy, and it does add a little extra charm to the game. This feature existed in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee as well, but that game only included mostly Generation 1 Pokemon, and it didn't come back in Sword and Shield except for in the DLC areas, and unfortunately wasn't in the entire Galar region. This would be the first time that following Pokemon is properly done in 3D on the Nintendo Switch, and while there might be some scaling issues on a 3D Pokemon game with Pokemon following you that weren't as much of a problem with the 2D Pokemon games like Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I still think most fans would prefer to have Pokemon following you anyway, even if it means making big Pokemon like Wailord much smaller than they actually are. I know Pokemon scaling is a common complaint in general since a lot of the times the Pokemon size are way off, but if you want the Pokemon to follow you, it has to be in a way that would actually make sense, and having Wailord take up the entire screen just wouldn't really be ideal. One thing I have to say that is the coolest thing about Sword and Shield though was the addition of the wild area. I spent a lot of time in the wild area doing raids and catching Pokemon and playing with friends, and I would love to see the wild area introduced somewhere in the Sinnoh region. This could be done with islands off the coast of Sinnoh like we see with the Isle of Armor in Galar, or added in unused parts of mainland Sinnoh. I would personally love to see a snowy based wild area in the north of Sinnoh near Snowpoint City to add some variety in the wild areas compared to what we see in Galar. Now while Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire is a remake of Ruby and Sapphire and not Emerald version, I still think that the remake game should at least take some sort of inspiration from the other game of the generation that they're based off of, in this case Platinum, because these other games always add some nice things to Pokemon. Platinum version had its own version of the battle frontier like Emerald, and although it isn't as loved as the one from Emerald, it's still something that I think a lot of people would like to see come back in a Pokemon game. We've had things like the Battle Tree in Sun and Moon and various other similar type of battle towers, but never a full-on battle frontier area ever since Heart Gold and Soul Silver back in 2010, over a decade ago. I think this would be a great opportunity to bring it back, and add even more to do in a post-game. Post-game content in Pokemon games has been very lackluster for the last couple of generations now, especially with Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon. And although Pokemon games are held to a weird standard of having post-game content more so than any other game franchise I've seen, it's still something a lot of Pokemon fans would like to see included in the game, and the replayability value of a Battle Frontier would be fantastic. Another thing that can help with post-game content in a potential Diamond and Pearl remake would be more of a focus on legendary Pokemon. Sword and Shield don't have that many legendary Pokemon at all to encounter in the base games, and upon release they had some of the fewest legendary Pokemon catchable out of any Pokemon game. Adding in some sort of post-game event for the Reggie Trio and Regigigas, which can also tie in with the two new Reggie Pokemon that are going to be introduced in Sword and Shield pretty soon, would be really cool, I think. They could even potentially add ways to catch other legendary Pokemon from older regions, like maybe even having the legendary Kanto birds be roaming legendaries or something in Sinnoh, or maybe adding Mewtwo in some cave or something. They could even bring back a feature similar to the wormholes that existed in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which was a great excuse to add back a ton of legendary Pokemon since Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire have some of the most catchable legendary Pokemon out of any Pokemon game. Now this video is getting a bit longer than I thought it would be, so I'll just wrap things up now. Let me know in the comments down below what you would like to see in a potential Diamond and Pearl remake for the Nintendo Switch. While nothing has been confirmed about a Diamond and Pearl remake for the Switch yet, and while every single rumor or post I've seen claiming to be a leak doesn't really seem legit, I still think that a Diamond and Pearl remake is the most likely candidate to be the next main series Pokemon game, and something that we will see released eventually regardless. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, as it supports the channel a ton and keeps YouTube promoting my channel, which is fantastic, and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any future Pokemon videos. Thank you all so much for watching, have a great rest of your day, I will see you all next time, and bye-bye.